3, 2, and 1. We are live. Over to Srilata, ma'am.
Thank you, Fanidra sir. Good evening to all the participants.
Good evening.
Welcome to the fourth session of Change Makers Winter Camp webinar series. I am Srilata, certified happiness coach, professional mediator, organization development consultant with 30 years of experience, both in academics and corporate world. By the way, I am your behavioral skill trainer. Those who were participating in the challenges during the last 10 days will know me, right? The right brain exercise. Yeah, that's given by me. Okay, I'm your host for the day, and I have my co-host, Miss Kushbu. Over to you, Kushbu.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Kushbu Jain from Class 8 Nagarjuna Model School, Kadapa, Andhra Pradesh. I am very happy to be a part of this Winter Camp 2023. I have took many initiative in this Winter Camp. I have made a e-book, PPT, and quizzes for the participants to know more about this. Over to you, Shrilata, ma'am.
Thank you, Kushbu. Participants, earlier session on tools, technologies, and prototyping by Mr. Ronak Jogeshwar was quite educative and inspiring, right? Now we have Mr. Udupi Srinivasa to enlighten us on the topic agriculture. It is my pleasure, sir, to invite you to our winter camp webinar series.
Thank you.
Mr. Kushbu will help us in knowing more about Mr. Udupi Srinivasa.
It is my pleasure to
Over to Kushbu.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure to introduce you, Srinivasa, sir. Mr. Udupi Srinivasa is a leading expert in structures, biofuels, product design, and prototyping. He was teaching in the Department of Mechanical Engineering of the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, until July 2012. With BTech and MTech degrees in Aeronautical Engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and had a PhD in structures from the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Science. He has worked as a faculty member from 1982 to 2012. He has been actively involved with and has eventually chairman of an erstwhile department of the institute known as ASTRA, Application of Science and Technology to Rural Areas. During the time spent with this group, he made several significant advances in bringing viable technologies to rural areas in India to help improve their standard of living. Notable among these are water harvesting techniques that convert local streams into perennial water sources, gasifiers for biomass efficient stoves, vegetable dryers for perishable goods, and what he is now most well known for, using straight vegetable oils in diesel engines to generate energy locally. He has been pursuing the latter since 1997 with his group known as Sutra, Sustainable Transformations of Rural Areas, and is responsible for renewing interest in this technology to such an extent that is now a nationwide phenomenon. He is member of the Biofuel Board of Government of Karnataka. Professor Srinivasa started the Advanced Product Design and Prototyping Center at the Indian Institute of Science, a joint venture between IISc and TCS, with the aim to bring academics and industry closer together. This group was the first to introduce rapid prototyping to India as well as find indigenous solutions to a variety of problems faced by the Indian industries. He is currently the chairman of Peace Engineering and also the chief consultant and founder of Engayan Consulting LLP, a group that offers quick and easy access to the top experts in engineering. Professor Srinivasa was awarded the second highest civilian award in the state of Karnataka in 2020 for his contribution to rural development, science, and technology. It is our pleasure to hear him today. Thank you. Over to you, Srilata ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kushbu. Srinivasa sir. Srinivasa sir, it is my pleasure to host you really. Such wonderful journey, so many accolades, and thank you so much for accepting and being with us today, sir.
It's a pleasure, madam.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, this is a fire chat session, okay? So we have questions, answers, answering, okay? Yesterday also we had the second session in the similar manner, right? So we have Miss Tilottama, one of our organizing team members, to help us co-host this session. I invite you, Tilottama, to join us, please. And I think yesterday's session, ma'am was the one who was hosting, so all of you know her now, right? Okay. So few points about attendance, please. Attendance link will be shared in the Zoom and YouTube chat box, and the form will be open only during the session. Attendance should be marked only once for each session, though the link will be shared 3 to 4 times for the convenience of the participants. Okay. So it will be shared many times, but you should mark only once and for each session separately. All right. Yeah. Here you go, Tilottama.
Thank you, Srilata ma'am, and great to talk to Srinivasa sir. Before we start, if for those of you who are there in yesterday's sessions, you remember what we were talking about. You need to have a book, pen, and be ready, or whatever else you use for note taking, and be ready to note down everything that you think is relevant as a requirement for your design, right? Whether you're planning to design something for agriculture or not, write it down anyway, just in case you change your mind later. Okay. All right. So I will start with the questions. So, India has the largest amount of agricultural land in the world, more than any other country, even the US or Russia. And we have a tropical climate, which means we can grow crops throughout the year. And 60% of our population works in agriculture. So the question to you is, are we living up to our full potential in this sector? And what kind of possibilities do you see for our growth here?
Regarding the first question, are we living up to our full potential? Sadly, no. Indian agriculture is what is known as subsistence agriculture. Agriculture produces some grains for the farmhold. It will give them enough food to eat and to keep them alive, but hardly any extra money. And therefore, I mean, they are alive, but they are they don't have any gainful employment. This is since Tilotama mentioned 60%, that's approximately 100 farming families in the country, 100 million farming families in the country. And so for practical purposes, this 100 million farming families are unemployed, is the major cause for poverty of a country. Now, are there any possibilities for growth here? Yes, there are enormous possibilities. For example, from the land, first of all, irrigated land is there now quite a bit, but otherwise we are depending on rain-fed irrigation. Because the rains are a little uncertain and may not be there when required, farmers do not risk whatever limited money they have to buy the necessary inputs, particularly fertilizer and when required pesticides, etc. And therefore, with respect to irrigated agriculture, they get only about 1/3 output. Now, even though the land is capable of supporting, because we have good land and enough sunshine, we can, in principle, get 3 good agricultural crops, but on an average, it is only some throughout the country, it's only some 1.2, 1.3 like that. So no, instead of 3. Also, no.
So from what you're saying, it's the equivalent of saying that humans can live to say about 100 if they have everything perfectly, in very good good amounts of whatever is required. But
Yes.
say somebody does not get enough nutrition, then instead of being able to live to 100, they can only live to say 60. And then suppose the same somebody also does not get enough water, so they're dehydrated often, so their kidneys are in trouble. That means that instead of living to 60, they can only live to like 40. So the land is basically having the same problem, that basically we are saying that so I'm just going to see if I can use a whiteboard here. So what we are saying is that owner of the allows within the same organization. Oh, so can I use a whiteboard or I cannot? Okay, let me forget about the whiteboard. So what you're saying with the land that we heard was that you're saying that we can grow 3 crops, but most parts don't have irrigation, so they can only grow 1 crop during the monsoons. So that's already 1/3. And they can, if they got enough fertilizer, in at the right times, they would be able to grow say 10 tons or something. But because there isn't enough fertilizer, they can only grow 1/3 of that. So the actual potential is 1/3 from the crops into 1/3 of the fertilizers, which is actually 1/9. So basically like 10% instead of the full 100% that we could have grown. Would that be the correct?
You're right. I mean, these are numbers. You're talking about countrywide average. Based on the numbers I've seen, it may be about 20%. So that answers the question you raised. Are there possibilities for growth? Yes. So we can push this number 20% up. But there's a catch to this. This 20% production already produces enough food for all of us. And you must be remembering, we are about 1/6 of the world population. So if we produce extra food, there may not be significant buyers. Most major countries will not buy from us because they are worried about the politics of it, and therefore, from that point of view, significant increase in food production is not necessarily a blessing, but what it actually means is that to make use of the full potential, we should not only grow food, we should grow other useful materials. I've been an ardent promoter of biofuels. So I would say, therefore, we should grow more vegetable oils or tree-based vegetable oils, which we can consume another 200 million tons. So which is comparable to the food production that is going on. And therefore, we can use the land, but we need a whole lot of other decisions we have to take to do this.
So what I'm also getting from what you're saying is that, yes, it's not just about how can we grow more things and how, or, optimize that. There are other parts as well that we can look at optimizing. And the main thing is, how do we find ways to make the farmers' efforts or work more productive so that the farmers have better use of their time, not necessarily more productive, but that they can use their time in a way that they earn more money. So that'll bring me actually to the next question, which is, so you come from Udupi, which is a town, and I think earlier it was a small town, and you have worked in rural areas through your work in IISc for nearly 50 years. So how has agriculture changed as you have seen it in your lifetime? What has become better? What is better? What's worse?
Oh, nice question. Yes. In the area where I come from, but and it's probably applicable to most of the West Coast, going all the way up to Kerala, where there has been considerable development in other areas. People have got better education, better skills, and the place is sort of partially industrialized. And under these circumstances, you remember earlier I mentioned income coming from agriculture is too meager. So farmlands are essentially left unattended. Farmers try to look for other jobs, but they don't try to do agriculture. It is not just with agriculture. For example, if you're overflying coast, most of the time you see a canopy of coconut fronds, coconut trees. And those trees are still there in most of the places. But farmers do not find it interesting to tend to those trees, give enough fertilizer, etc., and get good produce out of it. A well looked after coconut tree can give almost 300 to 400 nuts a year. The average now throughout India, in fact, including the East Coast, is only about 30 nuts. Which would mean, people are not attending to these. They are looking for more profitable engagements. So what has changed? There is unprofitable use of land for living is being slowly given up. So only in those areas where there is no alternative, people stick to agriculture with a lot of reluctance.
So what you're saying is also that in places where the land is really rich and fertile, these are also the places usually where the daily wage is quite high, which that then means that unless we have to find ways to make agriculture more profitable, that the same produce that is there, we have to find ways for the actual profits to get better. So maybe find access to better markets or better transportation or better cleverer ways of processing those things so that it again becomes lucrative for people to look at agriculture. Would that be right?
That's a good summary of the current situation now. And
so I'm going to move on to the next question because I think we're going to otherwise run out of time. So the next one I think is what you partly already answered is what do you think is the biggest challenge that all farmers face today?
Bulk of the farmers in India are having farms of size 2 acres.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of average. Though there are farmers with much larger areas.
Holdings. Yeah.
Now, I mentioned that farm gives them enough food to survive. I mean, there is no doubt regarding that. But when during the crop growing period, crop is yet to come, their pockets are empty. They're, I mean, they used to be at least perpetually hungry, and they had to depend on borrowing money, etc. Luckily, the government has come to help. It gives them access to credit, and it also takes responsibility for providing enough ration for them. And therefore, that issue is now not there. They're not hungry. But to be able to use their time, I mean, like anybody else, they would like to use their time and earn something. Farming operations normally take only about 10 to 15% of their time. A 100-day crop, the amount of work they have to do to plowing, planting, harvesting, looking after the thing, etc., is take about maybe 15 days from 100 days, just an estimate, which would mean 85 days they're idle. To be able to do that, they need, they need to find some jobs, they have to create some jobs for themselves. And it is a horrendous task for the government to create enough jobs for themselves. So they somehow have to be encouraged to use their own resources and find gainful employment in their farms. Or what I'm saying is, off-farm jobs become important to support them and to push up their income levels.
Sir, so if that brings me to the next question. But I mean, I think we'd still focus on the agricultural process itself, or process and the steps that come after it. But so when we are talking about developing products and technologies for agriculture, what kind of products and technologies should we focus on first? I mean, yes, of course, we need to look at how to make the land, eventually how to get it irrigated all over, etc. But some of those are things which we cannot do. That's something that the government has to do and is doing. But, what do you think we should focus on first?
There are, at least I see, two issues. On one side, there is something called high-tech agriculture, which you see in some of the universities, also in the farms of some very highly enterprising farmers, which can generate a fair amount of income. I mean, a number spoken is about a lakh and a half per acre, so per year. Now, this would require varieties of technologies if to be adopted in a large scale, and therefore they need to be pursued quite a bit, and in some sense made available to the farmers. I said made available because farmers are not in a position to absorb these technologies just by looking at them or even by giving some simple training, etc. Now, so products, technologies for high-tech agriculture are in need, and since the demand could be large, we could be producing them for the next 50 years. So, there could be a need for that. But on the other hand, if high-tech agriculture would also require a quite a bit of accompanying developments. So, no, to use the remaining land, because we can't use a high-tech agriculture on the land. Then what do we do? With excess production, we'll be
I
stuck
think
with that.
I have a problem with, I don't understand what you mean with high tech agriculture, because are you talking about automation? Are you talking about more things like tractors and equipment, or are you talking about more fertilizers? What do you mean when you say high tech when it comes to agriculture?
With respect to agriculture, high-tech would mean giving water, fertilizer at the right time, handling the growth period carefully with proper scientific inputs, handling the harvest properly, and then, of course, processing them and marketing that properly. So, no. Yes, obviously, you will require a lot of products to help in the process, like you said, mechanization, tractors, and various other equipment. And because the return from the high-tech agriculture is large, the farmers will be able to afford the relevant equipment to purchase. But I was going to say that today it is only a dream of only a handful of people, few farmers. So no, rest of them are not even aware of that, and therefore today they will require probably small devices, something which is within their uh, 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 capability to buy or adopt, which can still help them, in the farming operations, like uh, drying their produce when they harvest, or properly packing them and bagging them and sending it to the market links, etc. These can still be done without going for high-tech agriculture. So there are a number of related things that can be done, and the associated technologies are required. They're somewhat known here and there within the country, but they are not been put together for the farmers to effectively use.
So what I'm getting from this is work on the downstream things, especially around things like, say, semi-mechanizing, maybe the sowing process, um, like ensuring that the thing is straight lines, or that there's an equal gap between the saplings. Find a clever way in which the farmer can do this. Or the other thing would be find a way, and you do have dryers for grains and so on, but they are in the 50 tons per hour kind of thing. So find a way to kind of miniaturize them to a reasonable level, not too low a level. So these are all places where one could actually design products, as opposed, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, finish. Could you
As
finish
opposed to
that?
trying to, over automate. Like, if you say something like, I will come up with a drone which is going to harvest my paddy for me, that's a bit too much, right? But
Okay.
on the other, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
good point. But around what you said, there could be also other way of looking at these technologies. Like, yes, dryers are in the scale of several tons or several tens of tons per hour. But today, with the rural credit being available, somebody could have a startup, or a lot of people could have startups, where they buy this equipment and offer it as a service, a kind of a mobile dryer, At the right point, they go to the farms where harvesting is going on, dry the grains, bag them, and give it to the farmers. So it's an opportunity for a lot of employment. And similar, one could think in those lines, because scaling it down eats into
Loses.
the efficiency and convenience, and you'll be left with lot of steel and other material, not necessarily useful in the farms.
So one could think about apps, for example, which the startup can use to collect a bunch of people who are interested, and sort of like the dhobis from yesteryears, where they would go from house to house, collect the clothes that needed to be ironed, take it to their place, they iron it, bring it back and give it. So something like that, but except at a many tons
At
level
an
for
appropriate
grains.
scale suitable for the farms.
Yeah.
These are in some sense happening here and there in the richer tracts of the country, like in Punjab. There are people who go and offer to harvest for the farmers, or dry and process for the farmers. Some things are happening, but now, there is large farmers. But it should be possible to people to innovate and adapt that technology also where there are small farmers.
Yes, sir.
Basic technology is available. It's more like management inputs, and cleverness of the entrepreneurs, which could help both them and the farmers.
So I will come to my next question, which is, I think it's a little obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So India is a very big country with different climatic conditions, and agriculture is practiced everywhere. So should one try to find solutions that are one size fits all? And can you give us some examples to illustrate your answer, please?
There are some technologies which could be commonly used throughout the country, like dryers, we said, the perishables processors, like tomatoes, apples. I came across a place where tomatoes don't fetch farmers enough money to come back after bringing it to the market. They are not even left with enough bus fare, and often, under those circumstances, tomatoes are just thrown away. Or, for example, somewhere in northern Andhra, I came across that when the tomato prices come to a particular value, they just allow their cattle to go and
Graze the tomato.
eat whatever is there. It is not different. For example, I had come across a situation in Himachal where farmers were getting barely 1 rupee per kg, whereas we are paying something like, I said
100
50
plus
rupees, somebody said 150 rupees per kg in the cities.
of apples, right? Of apples.
Apples. So it's essentially because farmers don't have this capability to hold on to the produce. And if the takedar, the buyer, comes, says he'll come after 3 weeks, because he can't be coming there every day to the farms, your apples are gone. So, no. When I visited those places, it is not that the farmers don't know how to keep the apples. They, for example, I was given some apples which are nearly an year old. They have the cellars in the place, which is quite cool, and they put some leaves, etc., and keep it there. They know that, but they can't hold on to truckloads of apples. So
So they're not scalable. The traditional practices as of now are not scalable. So another thing we could
yes.
look
So
at
the
is
knowledge is there, but they
Hmm.
don't know how to scale it. So we built some cold storages. We built one cold storage in Mandi in Himachal using the winter ice, and it was able to hold on to several weeks. But such things are possible, but then it requires some kind of a mass action, you know. See, there are two groups, farmers and the non-farmers. The non-farmers are alive essentially because farmers produce the food. But non-farmers don't take the responsibility to help the farmers back to improve their situation and improve the food production, bring their life up. So no. And this indifference is what is causing our poverty and sinking our rural areas.
So the other thing,
To answer your question, quite a few of these technologies could be used in many places in the country. There could also be some specific things which are meant for bamboos or canes or for people living in northeast or Malnad areas. Yes, there you will require some specific technology, product development.
right? So other things that one could think of in terms of problem solving is one, the supply chain, how to make that more efficient so that the farmers actually get money for their that's worth it for their produce. And the other thing is how to take traditional knowledge, that is ways to preserve things, etc., and make them scalable. So it's like, it's one thing if you grow a few tons. What happens if you're growing hundreds of tons? How can you scale that? So that again is something that would be interesting to look at. Okay.
Good summary.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to now ask you a few questions to which the answers will, you have to give me some quick answers. So rank these in the order of crop destructive abilities. You don't have to rank all of them. Just tell me of these, which one is the worst? Which in terms of destroying crops? Insects, rats, birds, goats, cattle, elephants.
Yeah, I feel that these are all from the imagination of the urbanites. For the farmers, they won't even look at these at all. And for example, we're talking about rats, which can eat so much of produce. That's in government go downs, yes. That's rats could be a nuisance. But in the village, in the farms, rats are there. Then normally after the harvest, what falls down, some grains will fall. No, they collect them and go and take their storage. They don't attack the standing crop. So no, in fact, they store so much that there are some tribes who find the rat holes and steal from them, which is unfortunate. But what I want to say is that rats, insects, birds, goats, or cattle, they're not a hindrance in the farms. And elephants, where are they? There are only so few of them.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Okay,
if you're
similar.
looking at the total farmland, there is not even 0.001 elephant per acre in the country.
Yeah. So the next question, rank these in terms of destruction to the crops or environment. Chemical fertilizers, soil. So again, you have to tell me only the worst. You don't necessarily have to tell me, rank them from first this thing. So chemical fertilizers, soil erosion, too little irrigation or failure of monsoons, too much irrigation and water runoff, floods, stubble burning, pesticides, fall in water table.
Yes, I would take up too little irrigation and failure of monsoon, because that directly affects the food output, and it can push us to starvation levels. So, no, if suitable help is not organized, so no. Too much irrigation, so no, farmers would manage. Too much irrigation in the sense of ativrashti, excess rain. So no, that farmers would somehow manage. It is so no, it is not so devastating. So no, they may lose some crops and patches. Stubble burning is a Delhi problem, not to worry about. And fall in water table, yes, they are because of bad practices and not and the farmers not being educated to handle whatever rainwater that comes. I was recently at a Udupi college where they were talking about shortage of water to drink in the summer, and I've been hearing it from my school days. I just told them they get rainfall equivalent of about 10 meters of water every year. It's a high rainfall area. They just let it flow to the sea without bothering to somehow hold on to a portion that is required for them. So, I don't know. It is basically our problem.
So if it's too little irrigation or failure of monsoons, that's the issue. I think something that could be thought about as a requirement is, finding ways to kind of mitigate that, maybe with somehow being able to track if, there is insufficient rain at the wrong moments when the crop needs to come up.
Yes,
Or
you're right. Technology has changed. Today, satellite data could give you almost hour by hour prediction of rainfall or water availability. But uh, like government department, met department, it predicts or tells you how much is available. But there are not people who look at this and model it and say, yes, this will lead to crop failure or this won't lead to crop failure. I mean, we'll know crop failure when it occurs. So, and crop failures are not such a small thing at all. I mean, we have records in our country where there have been as much as 12-year droughts continuous.
oh, you mean monsoon failures, not crop failures?
Oh, monsoon failure. Monsoon failure. Yes, you are right. Monsoon failure. And therefore, anyway, nothing, no crops. So, no. For such long period, which could lead people to really desperate situations. So, no.
Okay.
This has happened.
Yeah. So I think I see a lot of questions are coming up. So even though I have three more questions, I'm just going to ask you one of them, which is, according to you, what are the basic requirements that all products designed for agriculture need to fulfill? And I'm asking you this because you have experience with agriculture and you have experience with product design. So what are the basic requirements that all products designed for agriculture need to fulfill? And the answers I'm looking for is, do they need to be more robust, dust-proof, waterproof? That in that sense, what kind of requirements do they have to fulfill?
I partly answered this earlier. The main issue is they should be affordable to the farmers and easy to use. I sort of trivialized it and said you should not have to push 100 buttons to make something work for them, but it should be easy to use. So,
and this is not because they are less educated or anything, but it is just because they have, when you're doing that repetitive task, it is important that it is as ergonomic and simple as possible. Would that be correct?
yeah, I mean it is. I mean it is. So no. I mean it's the same thing that, for example, when there are when I had to go through some complex so, no, uh, inputs to use the screen, I hesitate not to use it. So, no,
Yeah, or assembly
it's the
lines.
same reluctance with
Hmm.
the farmers too. So, no.
So easy to use, but what about things like electricity? Because from what I understand, it's not very reliable in rural areas. So would it need to be, if I'm designing something for actually on the farm, would I need to also worry about it should have its own little battery, and it should be, you know, sunlight, nothing should happen to it if sunlight falls on it, rain falls on it. Should I worry about things like that? Or is
Uh,
that
I have spent considerable amount of time with engines. They are, you know, not diesel or petrol engines. So, no,
hmm,
a
hmm,
number of them running around make me feel very comfortable. It is the engines which brought prosperity to Europe for 100 years. So, no? So engine is a relatively small device, mobile, we can take it wherever we want. And like I mentioned, worst comes to worst, farmers can grow the fuel themselves. So, no? And I would therefore say engines are the most convenient things which can be used for farm equipment. Like,
so
for
if you're
example, the
designing
tractor.
yeah, so if you're designing something to be used on the actual farm, then preferably design it so that it works on an engine as opposed to a battery. Would that be right? Because batteries again need to be charged. Batteries cannot be deep discharged too many times. So, okay. Sir, I'm sorry, I'm just cutting you off, but I just want to leave a little bit of time for questions. Last bit of information. If I want to design something for the agricultural sector, where would I start? Could you point me to some resources? Like, where should I go?
Yes. Identification of the needs is the crucial step to look for what to design for the uh, rural areas in particular. So, rural areas and farms in particular. You need to talk to IAS people or such government officers who have to compulsorily spend time in the districts before they come to other jobs. And usually they are a good source of information. One has to just look around, keep listening to people. So, of course, the requirements do not come as a final specification for the product. Like I said, apple farmers get only 1 rupee a kg, but that one has to think about it, translate it, and say, yes, these farmers require temporary storage facilities, cold storage facilities for a few weeks. So this you will have to connect. So, no, and that's where the difficulties are. Like, farmers throw away the tomatoes. So, no, but from there to say that they need dryers for the tomatoes, so, no, to make it last for a lot of time, etc., etc.
So
So
it's a
that
little bit like
interpretation has to be done by the designers,
hmm.
and that's how a good product can come out.
So it's a little bit like being a detective. So it's like you see the end problem, the end result. Like somebody has stolen something or somebody has harmed somebody, and from there you have to ask a lot of people, a lot of questions, and go backwards and figure out what is the actual cause and how to solve it. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to stop with my questions now because we've overshot and I've only left about 10 minutes for audience questions. So over to you, Srilata ma'am and Khushbu.
Thank you so much, Srinivasa sir and Tilotama, for that knowledgeable and quite detailed presentation. Okay. Kushbu, can you please share the questions, ma, that students were asking?
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Sorry, sir, you can take me off the.
I would, if possible, be online. Hello.
I'm here.
Tilottama?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, all right. Because if I can't hear properly, I need someone to help me out. Problems
Sure.
of old age.
Sure. Khushbu, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question is, what are the current trends or innovations in sustainable farming practices?
Oh, that's a. I can talk about it for several hours. So no, I can't quickly answer that. Essentially, uh, using high-tech farming, and uh, that is where the uh, so, the thinking is today in sustainable farming.
If I may just add to that, what does sustainable mean? It means that it should sustain, it should last. So, in order to figure out if something is sustainable or not, the main thing that you need to do is what are the inputs, like how much water, etc., you're giving it, and what is the output. As long as the output is higher than the total inputs, it is likely to be sustainable. You can look at any parameter. You can look at what is the cash that's going in, what is the cash that's going out, right? So that would kind of answer the question.
If you have, I mean, if I can have a minute, for example, or in one set of villages where we worked, there was only about 800 mm of rainfall, and the water will go into the nalla and flow into the river. And afterwards, there is the nalla will run dry and not enough water. So we systematically put half burns in that nalla, and that is water has to fill that level and go. So this made that nalla almost perennial in a year's time. And therefore now farmers have a dependable supply of water for the land around the nalla. So sustainability comes by making water sustainable for them. This way, there are various little tricks of the trade one has to use.
Yes, sir. The next question which we have is, during the rainy season, all crops grown by farmers died. Is government helping them in any way? If yes, then what are the ways do government help them?
Okay, hang on. Because the focus of this is on product design, and because we kind of left too little time for questions, could we kind of take the questions, Khushbu, which are around product design as far as possible? Yeah, but if you quickly want to answer that in a sentence or so, if you can just do that, please.
Yeah, government is aware of these problems, and there are various ways. Let's, for example, crop insurance, which is available to the farmers, and credit facility, which are also available to the farmers. So there are various ways to help the farmers. They are currently available.
Okay, sir. The next question is that which type of crop gives more yield?
There are, for example, if you are looking at paddy, there are some special varieties of paddy. But for example, our Indian Green Revolution depended entirely on going after short duration crops. So 100-day crops, so that in Punjab, for example, they can grow more number of crops and get yield. It is the yield they get per acre per year that is important, rather than yield you get per acre per crop. So there are these ways of optimizing the total output.
Okay, sir. is there any way we can use technology to reduce the effects of natural disasters like earthquake, landslides, floods, and droughts on farmers?
Well, they are really issues for the natural disaster management groups, and they're constantly thinking about it because they have to be done in a different way. It's not something that a farmer can do. So, government is building that department and putting in a lot of money. So, I mean, I think we should leave it to them.
Also, I think that's a question you can ask tomorrow's speaker because he's going to be talking about natural disasters and how to manage them.
Oh, fine. It is asked when just a day earlier. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Just a minute.
In the meanwhile,
One
I'm
of
just
the
going to.
question says, what are some of the ideas for innovation in agriculture?
Madam, what are some of the ideas?
For
For
innovation
innovation
in
in
agriculture.
agriculture, sir.
For example,
Mummy, what a bowler yotre aser yamme.
Okay, somebody needs to mute themselves. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, there is, for example, this whole new issue based on the experiment that is done in Kandhamal district of Orissa, where you grow paddy on a dry farm without the standing water. It gives better output and it uses minimal amount of water. And I actually, when if you use some rain guns to distribute the water, rain guns spray water on the land. That's commonly used in Europe and other places. Along with that, you can give fertilizer, pest repellents, etc. I mean, they are adaptable to rest of the places, but one has to, it has to spread.
I think, because we've been talking about innovation in agriculture throughout this. One of the ways you could do it is to look at what are all the processes based on, what we discussed today. So now you have a little bit of an idea of how it goes, right? So look at what are all the processes in agriculture and look at where are the places where, there is greatest losses. For example, in storage, the agriculture is not just about planting crops and harvesting it, right? Because you have the initial part, the preparing the soil, then you have the actual planting, then you have the harvesting, then you have drying it and processing the harvest, and then from there you have storage, and then you have transport. So there are many steps involved, and at each step you can look and you ideally, like professor suggested, you could go and talk to people about what are the issues concerned. And like Jyoti ma'am was saying yesterday, it's important that you listen to what they say and kind of figure out from what they're saying what the actual problem may be, right? So that is where the innovation is. And agriculture has plenty of places where you can think of small tools and devices to empower people. It's like help them do it more efficiently, whatever it is that they're doing. Right. So there's a lot of space for innovation in agriculture, but whatever it is, you have to keep in mind that it is something that it has to be, like Professor said, it has to be easy and it has to be okay to mass produce, right? Because we're talking about 60% of the population is in agriculture. So there should be something. It's not like, I'm going to build something in my lab and every time somebody wants it, I'm going to build it again. That's not possible. So it has to be possible to mass produce it. So you have to keep that in mind. Sorry, Prof.
Yes, you are right. Small improvements are possible. So one of my professor was telling me once, the sickles they use, if it is made with a particular steel, then it would last the entire season instead of it going blunt just after a day or two of harvesting. So that way, it's a lot of new ideas could go in. I think I should stop.
Srilata ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, once again for coming and then sharing all wonderful, thought-provoking views about agriculture, Thank you so much, sir. And dear participants, hope all of you enjoyed the session. Show me thumbs up, please. All of you. Yeah?
Thank
Okay,
you.
they're all writing yes, ma'am, thumbs up. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, too many thumbs up coming all the way. Thank you. Okay. So now I'm sure all of you enjoyed the session. Also hope all of you marked your attendance, right? Those who attend the session only will receive the participation certificate, and it is also mandatory to have 100% attendance to qualify for the prizes. The quiz will be shared at the end of the second session, that is today at 9 a.m. for both the sessions posted on the website. And remember, quiz will be active only till 4 p.m. tomorrow for today's sessions. Okay? Yeah. See you all tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another quite interesting session. Okay? Thank you all for wonderful participation and bye for now.
Madam, thumbs
Srinivasa
up
sir,
from me
have a good
also.
evening.
Madam,
Thank you, sir.
thumbs up from me also.
2 thumbs up for Tilottama now.
Yeah, thumbs up. Thank you.
Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, sir.
All of you have a nice evening. Bye.